Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros MLB. This is Leading Off Live, brought to you by Bet365. Bet $5, get 150 in bonus bets when you use the promo code Leading Off only at Bet365. It is me, Joey P. That's Joe Arico, and it's you, the Peanuts and the Cracker Jacks. Welsh on vacation for the extended weekend. He'll be back on Monday with me. We've got some fun stuff going on. Again, we won't be live this week because of the All-Star Game festivities, but we are dropping some content. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, keep an eye out on the channel. Subscribe to Fantasy Pros MLB on the YouTube side so you get all of the shows. Joe Arico, we got to start here with a guy that looked pretty good yesterday. I had just a couple strikeouts in the game. Oh, what's his name? Oh, yeah, Paul Skenes, somebody we don't talk about very often on the show. Paul Skenes got a W, a 1-0 win for the Pirates. The 22-year-old has a 1.90 ERA. He struck out 11 Brewers yesterday, so the over came in big time on that strikeout total. 89 Ks, 12 walks in 11 starts, and it looks like he could be the starter of the All-Star game, which we just talked about on the show. The only way to do it is to make him the starter with his funky routine. He's throwing footballs. He's backhanding balls against walls. Start him, clean inning, get him out of there. I'm excited now for first inning of the All-Star game if Skenes is indeed the dude.
Absolutely. And I love that they're not going to mess with the routine. Like you said, if he's coming out in the 4th or the 5th inning and he's got to work in the pen and just keep everything nice and clean. It looks like it's going to be Gunnar Henderson, Judge, and Soto in that first inning. Probably. We don't know for sure, but I'm very excited. I'm not usually somebody who cares that much about the All-Star game. I like the Derby, but the game is kind of whatever. But I will be planted on the couch watching that for sure.
I love it. It's like Welsh isn't here, but we got Joe in lockstep. He's not excited about the All-Star game either. I used to be excited about the All-Star game. It's tough. It's last year, the uniforms were so bad. It actually made my head hurt. I had a hard time physically watching it. That was weird. I did not like the uniforms. I was old man Joe.
I wish they'd wear their own team jerseys like it used to be.
Why can't you wear the old ones just like we used to? You wear your own damn jersey. You wear the home whites if you're the home team, and then you go out there. You wear the grays if you're out there. And I remember when Carl Hubble was in the All-Star game. He struck out those three fellas there. He struck out Jimmy Fox, and he struck out Babe Ruth, and he struck out Lou Gehrig in a row. I was there. Carl Hubble. All right. People have to look up who Carl Hubble is. The Jake, not even joining us live here on the show, instead drops a comment. Can't make the show live today, but just want to drop it and say that Paul Skenes is the effing man. And I may or may not be developing a slight man crush on him. Have a great show. Go Braves, says the Jake. Is that okay? Can you have man crushes on Paul Skenes? I think it's okay, right?
I think it's perfectly okay for me. I love the dude. Like I love pitching. I used to be a pitcher when I played baseball, and I always tend to favor pitchers more. But when you're seeing this kind of thing, it's hard to not just be smitten. It really is.
Well, you do have that pitcher hair. You have that old DeGrom hair going.
I do. I got the old Lincecum.
Yeah, the Lincecum DeGrom. You know, there was that window there where all the guys had that same hair. And Joe Rico's like, nah, this is not a phase for me. This is going the whole way. All right. Speaking of the Derby, by the way, I just put out my picks for the Derby on the social media. You can go check that out. Should be out later today. But it's Alonso, Ozuna, Garcia, Henderson, Bobby Wood Jr., Hernandez, Teoscar, that is, Jose Ramirez, and Alec Boehm. Joe, I know where I'm going for this one. Do you have a favorite that you like so far? I know there's some, Alonso plus 300 is the favorite. Ozuna right behind him plus 350. I'm looking at Bobby Witt at plus 600 and Garcia plus 4. Those are my two favorite bets. Where do you go?
Probably Alonso. It'd be hard to bet against him. I think that'd be where I mean, how can you bet against the champ, right? How many times has he won it? 2, 3? Is it 3? I can't remember. At least 2,
Alonso's
right?
won it twice for sure.
At least 2. I think
it got to the finals, but he came up short another time.
Yeah, I think it would be hard to bet against him. I mean, plus 300, it's not the greatest, but it's still like triple your money for Pete Alonso. I think it's probably where I would go. I'm not going to bet on the Derby probably, although we'll see what happens once a couple beers are flowing on Monday night.
I like this. Look at this. Eddie Buzz says, Joe, you were mentioned on another podcast. Eddie, what podcast is talking about me? Oh, I'm so humbled. Some dude was railing about you and your singing, and I stood up for you because I'm a crackerjack. Good, thank you, Eddie. What show? Let me know so you'll see what these tough guys are. I'm just kind of curious. All these fake tough guys who like to hang around and make comment.
Is it me or you? Is it me or you? I guess
it's definitely me. I don't know. How's your singing, Joe?
It's not the greatest. Probably not.
Hey, at least they're talking about you. That's what I say. At least
That's
they're
the
talking
goal.
about you. All right, some more headlines. Julio Rodriguez, feast or famine continues. He reached base all 4 times yesterday after not doing anything the day before and then going 4 for 4 the day before that. He was 3 for 3 with a double and a walk. Crazy. So there you go. Julio Rodriguez continues to be an enigma. Jack Flaherty was back and good. 2 hits, 1 run, 6 innings against the Guardians there. Just a ass kicking, really. So, Joe, Jack Flaherty probably is going to be out there. Give me a guess of where you think Jack Flaherty will land. Is he a Dodger? Is he a Yankee? I'm trying to think of some of the other teams out there. Is he a Brave? Like, where does he possibly go here to a contender?
Yankee Stadium would scare me a little bit. I think Braves would be interesting. Braves and Dodgers both really need pitching. I think one of them would make a lot of sense. But I also got to say, how is Jack Flaherty not an all-star? I know he's probably wouldn't pitch in the game anyway, but he has been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball this season, and he is not headed to the all-star game. So I think that's crazy. He's likely to get traded, and I think it's probably going to be one of those elite National League teams. But why
Houston
is he
wouldn't
not
surprise me either. Houston's kind of
Yeah.
up a creek without a paddle. And Eddie's saying it was my friends at the CBS show, Frank and Chris.
Okay.
That's okay. Those are my friends. That's not some other show. It's a great show. I love the boys over there and Scott and everybody. They do a great job over there. So that's okay. Frank has heard me sing in person at bars, so that's okay. Frank and I go way back. So, Frank Stample, fun fact, was actually a producer of a show of mine when he was an intern years ago over at Fantasy Network. So that's how long I know Frankie Boy. So it's been a long time there. So I'm going to ask them to come on the show just so I can sing to them. So now that I know they're talking trash, Kevin Gossman allowed 2 runs, 7 innings yesterday. So Joe Rico happy today. Luis Castillo also good. Some good pitching performances yesterday, including Hunter Green striking out 10 and Justin Steele, who we were betting on yesterday, came through 7 shutout innings, got a W against the O's. Justin Steele was winless forever, and it was a good bet yesterday. Maybe this is that little bit of a, the Orioles look a little human here. It's funny, Joe, coming up against the break, the Phillies, the Yankees, the Orioles, all the big juggernaut teams looking a little human here in the middle of the year. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I think it kind of tends to happen. Nobody runs so pure that they're well, I mean, it does happen every now and again, but usually you're going to see teams go through a bit of a downturn, even those 100+ win teams. So I'm not really overly worried, but yeah, it's definitely something that we have noticed. Specifically, like I know we've talked about the Dodgers a lot, but that rotation is just like it's crazy. Like we mentioned it yesterday, James Paxton at the top right now. They're gonna have to do some stuff because it's not what you'd be expecting for sure at this point. But it does it's baseball. It does happen. Teams are gonna run cold and hot for a while, but the better teams are gonna figure it out eventually.
Now on the other side of the Paul Skenes headline was Aaron Civale, who pitched very well, by the way. So Brewers acquired Civale about a week ago. 6 1/3 innings, 1 run, took the L, but again pitched very well. This is important for the Milwaukee Brewers. It's also important for fantasy perspective because, look, Civale, they need more help in this rotation. They need some depth. Civale's that guy. Here's a question for you. I know his underlying metrics are better than the actual ERA and all that stuff. We've been talking about that for a long time. I know Mike Mayer seems to write about it every single week on FantasyPros.com, waiting for Civale to come around. Do you think, or should I say, are you confident that Civale is somebody that's going to be an asset in the second half for fantasy managers?
I would say I'm confident. I think there's a chance, but unless he really does start to get closer to those ERA estimators, and even the estimators are somewhere in like the low 4 type of range. If you're talking really shallow leagues, you got a guy who's maybe going to be like best case scenario, high 3s, low 4s without a lot of strikeout upside. I think he's okay, but I think he does skew to slightly deeper formats. If you're in like a 10-teamer, 12-teamer, I think he's more streamable. He does have upside, but I don't think we see it constant enough to have him on those shallow rosters, if that makes sense.
Oh, it definitely makes sense. Let's do a little for fun. Brandon Pfaadt got his first win of the month. Yay, Brandon Pfaadt. 6 innings for the Diamondbacks. Good W over the Braves. In also other news, 3 for 4 with a double was Weiler Abreu. He had a home run, 2 RBI. He was just 8 for 42 over his last 14 games, so he needed a good game in the worst way. That's a positive. Rookie time. Shane Baz gave up 3 runs in 4 1/3. Got no decision against the Yankees. He gave up 6 hits, walked 1, struck out 5. But as everyone likes to say, the stuff looked good. So are you encouraged by how the stuff looked good, even though the results weren't necessarily there?
Yeah, the thing that really is kind of odd is the pitch count. He got up into the 90s in his previous start. They pulled him at 68. Now, Aaron Judge was coming up to the dish, but I think this is just kind of Rays are going to Ray type of thing. Like, I think Shane Baz is very good, but Kevin Cash is going to be kind of infuriating the way he uses him. So I was pretty encouraged. Like, it wasn't a bad outing. I think Baz is an excellent pitcher, but Tampa is just so annoying. 4 1/3 when he's at 68 pitches. Like, come on. What are we doing? Come on.
So I guess Eddie Buzz works for, I mean, with a name like Eddie Buzz, you got to work for TMZ, right? I got to think. So there's more to come here. So Eddie's still going on in the chat here. Look at him just unloading stuff. Just to be clear, it was a fellow subscriber, not Frank or Chris, commenting on my vocals. So it was one of our Peanuts and Cracker Jacks making a comment. How dare you see other shows behind my back? How dare you? No, those guys are great. Like, that's the thing I never understood. It's like, it's if you like baseball and you like this show and that, you can like this show, you can like that show, you can like all those shows. You could be everywhere, dude. Like, the tribalism in fantasy sports makes me laugh. I'm like, I mean, look, I know in nerd circles, and I'm a nerd myself, like tribalism is a kind of a thing. Come on, man. We're having different takes, different baseball stuff. It's a good time. So yeah, I mean, my singing's actually not so bad. Sometimes I do it bad as a joke here on the show. But who knows? Maybe we'll have to do an entire musical version of the show. Joe Rico, you up for the musical version of Leading Off?
Absolutely.
I
will get the vocals ready. I will absolutely. For the next intro, for the next time you guys do an intro, we should get one of you guys to sing it instead of this
there you go. I love that. Jackson Job struck out 8 and 5 scoreless innings in Double-A. And finally, Slade Ciccone was sent down to Triple-A Reno. So a lot of guys will get sent down. Some guys will come back up this time of year because it's the All-Star break. They want guys to keep working through rotation spots, especially, but some guys will not. I don't know if Slade Ciccone is going to be back. 3 up and 3 down. Cal Raleigh, how hot has he been? 3 for 5. Homer from both sides of the plate. Unbelievable. Should have been picking Cal Raleigh for my home run calls last week. It would have been way better. Juan Soto, 2 for 3 with 2 walks, a double and a dinger, and Tanner Houck. 6 shutout innings. I fell just shy, though, of my strikeout total in the extras. So got regular one, got the W, all that stuff, but I got the parlay version, but didn't get the alt strikeouts. Whatever, life goes on. Brandon Drury, another 0 for 3 for him. He's hitting a $170, 244, 220 in 42 games. Brandon Drury had a couple good seasons in a row, and then he has completely fallen off the map this year. What happened to Brandon Drury? I understand, Joe, it was like a weird thing where it was a player people didn't expect, and then he became productive, and then people didn't buy in. And then this year, if you bought in, it's like, hey, this is a cost-effective guy in the infield spots where you can get some power, and he might be a pretty good return. And he has done less than nothing this year.
Yeah, I think he did deal with an injury, but the power is just gone. Like the last couple seasons, 26, 28 homers, barrel rate above 10% each of the last 2 seasons. 1 home run in 42 games and a 3.8% barrel rate. The power being gone for Brandon Drury means there's just no fantasy value. He's not a batting average asset, no stolen bases. We know the lineup around him. I needed to double check this. He has 6 RBI in 42 games. Like, that is just,
that's a wild.
Like, that's a horrendous.
I don't even know how that happens. Like, how does that even happen? Like I know the Angels have their problems, but
you figure you and I could be in the middle of that order, probably driving more than 6 runs in 42 games. Maybe. I'm kind of joking, but
I'm not. I can still swing the bat. Curveball, not so much. Straight ball, fine. Curveball bats are afraid.
Yeah, Brandon Drury, I think if you're still holding on, there's just not a lot of hope here for me.
All right, let's continue with the downs. Mackenzie Gore, 4 runs and 4 2/3 against the Mets. And Jordan Hicks got lit up, 5 runs and 4 1/3. Not a good day against your Blue Jays, but again, that made Joe Rico happy. Injury notes to get to. Reed Garrett, MRI on his elbow. Was clean, no structural damage, so we'll see what happens there. JT Realmuto is not going to return before the All-Star break. No surprise there. We've been thinking that. DJ LeMahieu underwent a precautionary CAT scan. It was apparently clean, though, after he fouled the ball off his neck. Now, I didn't see this, Joe. But how do you foul a ball off your neck? That seems like almost what's more impossible? Fouling a ball off your neck or Brandon Drury having 6 RBI in 42 games? I want to hear you in the comments. You tell me what is more unlikely. But What do you think, Joe? What do you think about this one? Did you see this? I missed this somehow.
I didn't see it either, but it feels like you would be more likely to hit yourself on the neck than only drive in 6 runs, even for the Angels over the course of a quarter of a season. That's wild. You see the odd foul ball go off the, near the hands or at the end of the
Shins.
yeah.
I'm only guessing it hit the ground and came back up on him. Could that have been it?
Maybe I didn't see it. Maybe
Like it hit the plate and came back. Like, I mean, I know some weird foul ball stuff, but that seems like a weird one to me. I don't know. Very weird. I don't know. Kyle Tucker is playing catch today. So there you go. Okay. Kyle Tucker and your 10-year-old nephew both playing catch this afternoon. Zach Wheeler will not start on Sunday against the A's. No shock there with that back issue. So we're going to keep him. We'll see if he makes an appearance in the All-Star game. Joe, I give it a 50-50. What do you give it for Wheeler?
in the All-Star game, I don't think so. I think they're probably not going to let him pitch, but maybe. I mean,
it's
the NL
Tuesday.
The NL suffered a few losses for pitchers, so the NL All-Star pitching staff might need to desperately call upon Zach Wheeler. But I don't know if Rob Thompson and the Phillies are going to love that. I think they probably would prefer he have a break. But do they have a say in the matter? Like, can Lovolo just say, like, you know what, he's going out there? I think
the player can just say no, which is again what's like, the All-Star game used to be a big thing of pride because the American League and National League didn't like each other.
Yeah.
Back in baseball, I know this is hard to imagine. Before there was all the guaranteed money and all the giant contracts, people didn't like each other. Like there was a lot, like the Yankees and Red Sox hated each other.
Yep.
The Cardinals and Mets in the 80s, brutal rivalry there. It's just funny. I feel like those rivalries that really made baseball the Dodgers and Giants is still alive and well. I think that one's still pretty good. But it's just not as venomous, I feel like, as it was, especially when I was a kid. And I don't think this is me, being old or whatever. I just think those rivalries are just not there anymore in the same way that they were. You are younger than I by a couple months. So do you see any of the rivalries still existing in Major League Baseball like that? Like that thing where you see, like, if I said, Joe, who are the two teams that absolutely hate each other right now? It's like a real rivalry. You want to see those two teams play. Does that exist?
In my brain, I would default to Yankees Red Sox, but I think it's more the lore than anything that's currently going on, right? Like my brain, I just think of like Pedro throwing what's his name to the ground. Zimmer, was it Don Zimmer?
Oh, Don Zimmer. What's his name? How dare you? I have a Don Zimmer bobblehead here. It's one of the all-time great bobbleheads. I'm going to find it here while you talk. Go ahead.
But I agree with you that you just don't see it on a regular basis anymore. The animosity, like when the whole Tim Anderson, Jose Ramirez thing happened, that was like a massive, massive deal. You used to see guys kind of throw punches more often. Nolan Ryan and guys from back in the day wouldn't really hesitate to either like throw a bat or throw a punch or something. Now you don't really see that. And that's not necessarily just rivalries, but the game is a little more tamer, I think. There's not as the emotions don't run quite as high unless you see a couple of guys get hit by a pitch or something. It used to be
like you get those one-offs. Like I think the Yankees Astros for a little while there was a little hot. That was kind of hot there, I think, for a couple of years, for numerous reasons. So here we go. Don Zimmer, one of my favorite humans in Major League Baseball. Look, it's the then and now when he played for the Brooklyn Dodgers, and then there the end there with the Tampa Bay then Devil Rays, I believe. But
beautiful,
all-time great. My home league is actually called the Don Zimmer Memorial Fantasy Baseball League, and we used to call it that before he was dead. And the main logo picture was a picture of Don Zimmer with a word bubble that says, "I'm not dead yet, you bastards." And that was like forever. We've had that for like 20 years now. But Don Zimmer, there for Jackie Robinson, there for the Yankee glory days, there for the 75 Red Sox, Carlton Fisk home run. You can basically chart baseball from 1950 to what about 2005 or so, 2006, Don Zimmer, which is an amazing thing. What a career. He should be in the Hall of Fame. He's life given to baseball. No.
Wow.
Don Zimmer as a coach, as a manager, he was also there for that run. I want to say with the Cubs in the 80s too. The 84 Cubs, I want to say he was around for that too. Like he is like that, like the Kevin Bacon. He's just like, this is like 1 degree of Don Zimmer. He's a hero.
They needed room for Harold Baines, so they had to leave him
out. Harold Baines. Yordan Alvarez absent from the lineup again yesterday. We'll see if he plays in the All-Star game. We'll see if he plays this weekend. Devin Williams beginning his rehab today, so that's great. Jordan Montgomery is still 2 weeks away from returning, and Cody Bellinger goes on the IL. with a broken left middle finger. Now, that's a 2 to 4 week injury. That's putting things real close to the deadline here for the Cubs. Also makes it really hard to trade Cody Bellinger with a broken finger. Now, theoretically, if I'm a team, I'm still okay trading for Cody Bellinger with a broken finger. Like, that's okay. It's not like a hamstring. It's a finger. It's a bone. It'll heal. You get back there. But where does this put the Cubs here? Because it seems like a precarious situation.
Yeah, he has the opt-out after this season too, doesn't he? Like, there's 2 additional years, but he does have an opt-out. So I'm not sure if a team is really going to pay up for him because of A, the injury, B, he hasn't been quite what we expected this season. He's been fine, but after what we saw last year, he's been a bit of a step down. And then you're acquiring him without the certainty that he's going to be there for sure next season. So I'm really not sure where this leaves the Cubs, but it's not a great spot for them at all. I think that they'll probably have to just hold on to Bellinger and hope they can kind of retool and hope that 2025 looks a little bit better, and hopefully Seiya can be healthy and Nico Hoerner can turn it around. But yeah, I don't think they're in a great spot right now at all.
It's tough. I mean, because now you got to find a way to replace Bellinger. Michael Busch has been hot lately too. The last week, all of a sudden, which is kind of like talk about forgotten men, like in fantasy baseball. Such a good April, and then just hit a wall, and just now it's the middle of July, and he's hitting again. So very weird situation there. But we'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here with the Cubs and everybody else. Also, we got to keep you up to date. It's been a good week for betting, so let's finish strong. It's Friday's best bets of the day with Joey P and Joe Arrico, because Welsh is on vacation. Remember, go to bet365. Use the promo code leading off when you sign up. Please go support our sponsor, bet $5. Get 150 in bonus bets when you register at bet365. 18 or over in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, Joe, we got to stay hot here. It's a good day yesterday. Going to go to Minnesota on the money line, -135 against San Francisco. Joe Ryan on the mound. I want a good statement start from Joe Ryan here heading into the break. And then I'm going to attack the Schwellenbach. The Schwelly balls. He is on the mound today for the Braves. San Diego's at home. Give me the money line. I know it's against the Braves. It sounds wacky, but I don't like the Schwellenbach. I don't think he's any good, and I'm going to go attack him and plus money, +112. And then Aaron Judge against the Orioles. Need I say more? If you're not betting this week against the Orioles with Aaron Judge, I don't know what you're doing with your life. He murders the Orioles in his career. Just flat out murders them. I'm going over on the RBI, 0.5 at -112. And to hit a home run, +200. You're getting 2-1 on that bad boy. That tells you what Vegas thinks about his career against the Orioles. So you're going to make money. Usually those numbers are like 350 and up. 2-1 to hit a home run. That's kind of absurd, but I think Aaron Judge can do it. Joe Arrico, what do you have for the people for Friday's best bets of the day?
We had a pretty good day on Thursday, even though the Dodgers pulled some tomfoolery with Landon Knack and they used an opener in front of him. He still hit the over, and we hit the Paul Skenes over, but the Dodgers money line did not come through. But 2 for 3 on the leading off debut. We'll take it. Today we're looking at strikeouts. We're looking at overs for Taj Bradley, Freddie Peralta, and Kyle Harrison. So Taj Bradley over 5.5 strikeouts. We're talking about a guy with a 30% strikeout rate who has a 5.5 strikeout line at plus money. I know Cleveland doesn't strike out a lot, but Bradley is really one of the better strikeout pitchers in all of baseball. It's hard to pass that up at plus money. Freddie Peralta at 6.5. He's getting the Nationals. This one also feels very doable. And also the fact that it is plus money. You know, he's a volume guy. If he's able to get to 6 innings, I think this one is essentially a lock. 6.5 for Peralta is also, I don't want to say it's disrespectful because it's probably a fair line, but I think he pretty easily goes over that if we do see him go 6. And I think that should happen in a spot here against the Nationals. And then going to the West Coast, Kyle Harrison. This one was looking at the prop bet cheat sheet over at Betting Pros. Kyle Harrison projected for 5.5 strikeouts, and he's only set at 3.5 here on the line. It's a little bit juiced. It's -145, but 3.5 really does feel doable there. And all of these, of course, at Bet365. Use that code leading off. Hey, Joe.
There you go, baby. Yeah, we got to go to A at the end there, too, from the Canadian. Again, go download the Betting Pros app. Start betting smarter, not harder. Those are the best bets of the day for Major League Baseball from us here at Leading Off, and subscribe to Fantasy Pros MLB. I got a good question in the chat here. I want to bring this up. If you got questions, drop them in here. We'll give you some answers too. Rest of season, Colt Keith or Michael Busch? I'm going Colt Keith, and this one ain't close. Last 100 games for him have been spectacular. What do you make of Colt Keith versus Michael Busch?
Yeah, I'm not a huge Michael Busch guy. I think the strikeouts are still a problem. Runs a little bit too hot and cold. I think it is Colt Keith. He's top prospect. He's really coming into his own. I doubted him a little bit. I was worried about the ballpark kind of suppressing some power. I was worried about the lineup around him. But he has really surprised me. He's been excellent. I'd easily take him over Bush as well.
All right, before we get to the home run board for the day, I want to address one of the questions here in the chat, or should I say statements here in the chat so far, because I'm looking at Schwellenbach's stats here, because somebody was talking about his secondary stuff. Well, that's fine. You can have all the great secondary stuff you want, but in 37 innings, I know he's only walked 9 guys, but he's got a 5 ERA. Okay, when you have a 5 ERA and you're giving up more hits than innings pitched, I don't care how good your secondary stuff is. You're not missing enough bats. That's a problem. Now, it's good that he's not walking guys, so maybe he's a developmental project. But right now, I'm attacking the Schwellenbach every time he's on the mound. I'm going with Aaron Judge. No shock there. Against the Orioles, yeah, it's easy. Yeah, I want it. I'm going to go with there anyway. But for you, Joe Arrico, as we look at this leaderboard, again, I'm hanging on by a thread. Joe Arrico, where are you going for your home run call this weekend?
I went with Nolan Gorman, who has been fairly hot. I guess this counts for the whole weekend, doesn't it? This isn't just for Friday. So
it can, unless you want to go to the Discord, fantasypros.com/chat, and you can go ahead and log your daily ones if you want to make home run calls. But you can go perpetuity, as I like to do as well.
I think that Gorman is a good play. He's usually one of these guys who runs really hot and really cold. He's got multiple hits in like 6 of the last 9 games. I know he had a little bit of a 1 for 7 in that doubleheader, a little bit cooling off, but he's facing Kyle Hendricks, who's allowing nearly 2 homers per 9 innings this season. He's not been good. And Kyle Hendricks has a 7.53 ERA. He's just been brutal. And I think Nolan Gorman, with that monstrous power, truly one of the better power hitters in baseball, should be able to get me at least one. We'll keep that for the weekend, and we'll see if he can take advantage of some of the Cubs pitching.
Well, if it was a strikeout contest, I think you'd win with Nolan Gorman. I'd pick him every single day. Another question from the Peanuts and Cracker Jacks from Joe Nelson. Joseph wants to know, hey, Joey P, do you give Reese Hinds any chance of sticking onto the Reds roster? I say little. What do you make of this one here, Joe? Welsh kind of pointed out the other day, the profile is not a good one. A lot of swing and miss. He's definitely got power. We've seen that. But those kind of guys get figured out real quick. What do you make of Hinds?
I think he's like Jose Siri, like almost exactly like Jose Siri. Massive strikeout rate, but good power, good stolen base potential. The ballpark is really interesting. If he does stick, he could be a good fantasy asset. But we're talking about a 38% strikeout rate at AAA. Like, we're talking Joey Gallo type of strikeout numbers here. I think it's a pretty tough road for him to maintain fantasy value with that. There's a chance, but he's not somebody that I'm spending a lot of fab on or using top waiver priorities on. I don't feel that confident in him sticking. I think for future years, we get the strikeout rate down, especially in Cincinnati. He could be a serious dude, but for right now, I don't really see it.
I would agree. All right, everybody, enjoy the weekend of baseball. Enjoy the All-Star festivities. We're going to have coverage next week of the MLB draft, of the futures game, our takeaways from that, and our fun special for our fantasy all-stars of 2024. I want to thank Joe Arrico for filling in for the Welsh on behalf of the Welsh too, because he's out having fun, although he is with his family. So it's less of a vacation and more of a trip. That's the thing, when you have little kids too, it's more of a trip, and then you need a vacation after the trip. So either way, I'm sure Welsh is happy he's out there spending the time. Joe Arrico, great job last couple of days. And of course, Joe's going to be filling in a lot more here as the summer draws on. That'll do it for us, though, as the story continues on. For Joe Arrico, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Enjoy the All-Star festivities.